Welcome to the home of Project Dream Mastery. Here at PDM, we are challenging the status quo of what it means to follow your dreams and how to unlock the power those dreams will bring to your life. The show experience will be unscripted, authentic, and transparent. So now, sit back, relax, and get inspired with your hosts, Lucas Johnson and Patryk Labuzek.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Project Dream Mastery Show. My name is Lucas P. Johnson, based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and I am one of the two hosts here at PDM. And the other man behind the mic, and also one of my best friends, business partners, co-founders of PDM, and co-host for the PDM show, Patryk Labuzek. Can I mention that he's based out of Ireland and was born in Poland? How cool is that? Patryk, how are you doing today, man? Are you excited?
I'm so pumped. I'm glad this is the second episode. Everything's coming together great. You have so many stories to tell. And I'm just looking forward to telling them,
There's just so many epic stories that we have that I feel like when they get out there, we're not going to be able to have anything to use at the bar or, any pickup lines because they're just going to be out. Everyone's going to know them.
Yeah. I fear that too. There's just so many, but half of me is thinking people are just not going to believe what we're saying here. Some of the stories are just so bizarre. I don't know,
Patryk,
so
I remember we drove through the Grand Canyon and all of a sudden there's fires everywhere around us. I'm serious. This crazy shit happens when we're together. Controlled burn, they said. I was thinking, Patty, what'd you do, buddy? What'd you do? All right. Well, enough of that talk. Let's get into the topic of our show today. We will be focusing on, and I talked about this briefly in the last show. So if you were paying attention, some brownie points to you. The days we're going to be focused on basically one word, homework. To kind of make that a little bit broader, we're going to say, you stop learning because no one is telling you that you have homework. I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. What does that mean to you? Because for me, I was sitting in a very unique setup. I took 2 lawn chairs and I decided to go out on my balcony and start reading a book. And it was by Jeff Walker. Great book. Any book by Jeff Walker is just incredible. I'm just going to say that from the start. That's a shout out to the man. But I was sitting out there in a very awkward setup. This is a great setup too. 2 lawn chairs, had my feet up, and all of a sudden it's 85 degrees and sunny. It was supposed to be raining and cloudy, but it was just cloudy I thought it was going to be. So I went out there. I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to get a little bit of sun while it's nice. And started reading this book and started realizing to myself, wow, Lucas, when was the last time you actually read a book without being told? I really had to think about that. And I've read a book. It's not over the last 4 years. I've read many books, but all of those books have been forced upon me. That is all of my literature classes, English classes, math books, math classes, history, and so forth. And I'm 23 years old. Patty is 24. We've had our fair share of books, but I don't know how many times I've really went out of my way besides when I was interested in something. So that goes back to the question, how many times have you actually done something when it wasn't homework? For example, even a math quiz or, practice stuff or say SATs here in the United States or what else we have? All those big tests, you got GMATs and, all those tests, LSATs. A lot of times you're prepping for those because you have to. Otherwise, you're not going to get into the school. But how many times have you sat down and did that awkward, comfortable, position like me out on the porch and just said to yourself, wow, I don't really feel like reading this book. But then you start reading it and you realize you're 80, 90 pages in and you go, holy shit, there is so much immense value in this book. Patty, how many times have you done that where you're just like, all right, I don't really feel like doing this, but I'm going to do it because I know I have to?
Definitely. Let me think.
You think, and I'll let your network get a little bit better because, we are broadcasting from two different countries right now. United States
my
and Ireland.
network is going down and it's all freezing over here for some reason.
But the best part about the show is you are having an amazing time having conversations with us and going into some deep topics whenever we have the opportunity to have that great network, especially with COVID-19 circumstances. So I'm going to answer that while Patty has some time to really think about.
Lucas, I'm looking into it. Yeah.
You're good. Well, Patty has some time to think about it as well. For me, I really had all this time in my life, just a lot of it. And how many times have I said, I don't want to go to the gym because I don't have time? How many times have I said, I don't want to eat that because I don't like it? Or I don't feel like cooking. I don't have time to cook. I don't have time to go to the grocery store. How many times? I mean, this is real life. This is why I said homework. If you're not told to do something, then you typically don't go out and do it unless someone is forcing you to do something, especially something you don't want to do, like dishes. Dishes. Scrubbing those dishes are awful. And if it didn't make all these bugs come into my place, probably wouldn't do them. Don't get me wrong. I live in a very clean apartment. Everything's clean, as you can see. But it's going back to homework. And all these times in your life, I have about, 40 or 50 books that are up there that I've told myself that I'm going to read. I've read maybe 10 of those books in the last. And these are just books that I've purchased for myself. No one has told me I had to purchase them. No one told me I had to read them. These are books that I thought I would be genuinely interested in. And now they've been on a bookshelf for the last 4 or 5 years. How many times have you been in that position where you said you're going to do something, you just haven't? Project Dream Mastery is exactly that. So Patty, how many times have you been there?
Quite frequently, actually. And I think it's part of who we humans are, just lazy creatures. The thing is, especially now in the 21st century, where all the information and everything we want comes really easy to us, at a click of a button, essentially, you Google whatever you're interested in, and there's your whole everything, the entire internet of information, right? So we're very used to just getting things done really quickly. At an instant, it has to be here now, and like we're constantly rushing, and because of that rush, and you always tell yourself, like you mentioned before, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do this. Even though you might feel like, I'm interested in a particular subject in a particular book, like you said, but you're just like, you know what? I don't have time to do this. Well, it's important to kind of put a certain, make yourself do homework. The title of this talk right now, homework. The homework, I think, motivates us to get things done. Like, at the back of your head, you're like, okay, this is homework. And since we were 5, 6, going to school, there has always been homework, right? Because, without homework, you're not going to get anything done. So you've been told by a teacher, okay, this is your English homework. This is your math homework. This is your history homework. You have to write this essay, that essay. You have to read this play or poem or whatever it might be. So coming up with a routine where you put homework on yourself now that we're out of school, out of college, universities, is very important to make ourselves do things, because it's so easy to just say, we don't have time because we work full-time jobs. We don't have time to do important things that will help us develop more as people. We kind of lay them back. First of all, because we're lazy. Second of all, because we have different things to do, so just, scroll through Instagram feed, for example. So what I'm getting at is it's important to have a routine of putting homework on yourself and making that time.
Homework first is definitely a priority. I mean, if you're not putting that homework first, you're actually neglecting yourself. And that's what I took away from that. Is you have all these opportunities in your life to really learn something. And how many times have you just said, Come on, mom, 5 more minutes. I mean, we're both grown men, grown adults out in the real world. And even then it's just, hey, 5 more minutes. I'll get to that in 5 more minutes, but 5 more minutes turns into 10, 15, an hour and so forth. And it's really important. And this is what we want to focus on is sometimes you have expectations that are set on you, but those expectations are your own. You need to expect from yourself that you're going to go and you're going to learn. You're going to put yourself first sometimes. Not all the time. Don't be selfish. Okay. Don't be selfish now, but you got to put yourself first. And if that's 90% of the time, great. If that's 100% of the time, great. As long as it's not all the time, you need to put yourself first. You need to focus on the shit that you need to get done. And that could be, I need to go read this book. That was me yesterday. I said, hey, I could watch another 7 hours of Netflix and binge like I've been for all of COVID-19. And, or I could go run, which is, I like to run, so that's not a big deal. Or I could read this book that I've had sitting here for the last 4 years. I turned off the TV, turned off the laptop. I went outside because I knew if I stayed inside, I was not going to start that book. I read 85 pages of that book in like an hour or so, maybe a little longer. And, then I decided that I wanted to keep reading. I got myself a coffee, brought my 2 lawn chairs inside. Instead of sitting on the couch, I actually put them back together, put my feet up, and I sat back in my same damn chair because I was so comfortable. Started drinking this coffee, and I'm currently saying to Patty, and before we started this call, I started with a nutritionist. So I'm like very particular about the food I've been eating and all this. And I decided, I was like, hey, I want a coffee. It wasn't part of my meal plan. It wasn't part of the plan for that meal. I was like, you know what? I need this coffee because I want to read this book. I prioritized myself because I knew if I didn't have that coffee, I wasn't going to read those pages. So Patty he brings up such a great point is prioritizing yourself, prioritizing your mindset for your success. And sometimes those expectations you have to set for yourself. Don't limit yourself to just the things people set on you. Don't limit yourself don't limit your potential. Don't limit yourself to become not the best version of you. I mean, Project Dream Mastery really just wants you to really become the best possible you that you can possibly be. So, Patty, I'm going to pass it back over to you and let you add any value you would like for homework.
Yeah. See, there's a lot of things going on in our lives. There's a lot of things that we want to achieve, we want to do. For me, August 2018, came back from Australia, had this amazing time. I was like, okay, I want to create this blog for myself, alwayshomer.net. Before releasing it, I had a little bit of content there. But over time, I realized it got very difficult to write those posts. Not difficult that I don't have things to talk about. I don't have quality content because there's so much. And there's so much more. We do things all the time. Well, not now during the COVID-19. I guess that's a little bit of a pause for us this year. But yourself, we were doing things all the time, meeting up here, doing our reunions, all that kind of stuff, adding to those experiences. But what I'm getting at is, it got very difficult to commit to the blog because it started to feel like a routine. I was saying just a few minutes ago that it's important to put a routine on yourself, to motivate yourself to do certain things. But at some point, on that journey, I feel like that routine just becomes boring to us. So it's important what I'm getting back to is what you said, putting yourself sometimes first and making yourself feel good. Like if it's that getting that coffee or, it's like taking your laptop, going to the beach and write your blog post there, or, just picking up your camera, going to the forest just outside the door, taking a few shots and then coming back to do some work. It's very important to add a little bit of color to your routine, a little bit of color to your homework, and keeps you to keep going, essentially.
So your word there is priority. So what I'm taking away?
Yeah, okay. It's coming up. Yeah.
So we have routine, we have priority. we have selfish. Those are three giant words that stem from homework. I think that's crazy. I mean, an idea that is so minuscule. I mean, this idea is on it's right here. That's the idea. That is what Project Dream Master is. I mean, you have a dream, you have a vision, you see and you think about these things in a very complex manner. And I'm not trying to simplify this in any way, shape, or form. I'm really just trying to say here that your reality can be significantly changed and altered by the decisions that you make, by the routines you make, by your priorities, and by being selfish. Those three things can help you they can be applicable to homework. I mean, if you just go out and you learn something new, you never know when that could change your future. That could change the person you intend to be or that you want to be. Patty and I had some really crazy times this summer, for example. I never was big into camping. In fact, I was never really big into the outdoors. I like to, go hunting with my dad for quality time, but rarely did I ever, shoot any animals. I just never really was about that. Yes, I like to go hunting with my dad. It's good quality bonding, but I had those opportunities over the last few years to kind of to take that time and prioritize all this stuff. We went camping, and I'm going back to what we were saying. I got sidetracked to that. I was focused on my dad. He's a really important person in my life. Sorry. But going back to that, I like going outdoors and doing all that kind of stuff. But the camping aspect, that was a giant leap for me. That was probably a giant leap for Patty. I know he likes to do crazy things, and I like to follow along, and I also like to do crazy things too. But we
put it this way, Lucas, if I can interrupt you there, I'm all about doing crazy things and adventures, and I slept in bamboo huts in the middle of rainforest somewhere on a deserted island in the Philippines, for example. But camping in the United States, in the state of Arizona, and just cooking our chicken on a grill, and then hearing the bears coming at it at night. That was wild. That was something I wasn't prepared for. So
that was some scary shit. That was scary.
Yeah. that was scary, So I just wanted to add that. That was just insane.
Hypothetically, no one put the chicken anywhere close to the tent, the campgrounds. That did not happen.
Not
right?
at all. Did not.
First time camping for everyone, right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I forgot about that. That's great though. That's great. I mean, you've done some serious camping, and I want to bring this back because I don't want to get off track from our topic, but this is really relevant. Patty, he has done some serious camping in terms, as I do the little camping. He was out in the middle of Thailand, the Philippines, doing crazy stuff, like just living in this hut. I mean, you can go ahead. You can explain that. I think that'd be cool context here. Go ahead.
So yeah, crazy stories to tell. And one of them is my time in the Philippines, Palawan Island. It's considered actually the most beautiful island in the world. It truly is. So if anybody of you have an experience of going to Palawan, do not think twice about it. It's worth every penny. It's worth going on the trip. It's worth seeing all those beautiful things because they can't be seen anywhere in the world. And to complete my trip, I decided, or we, with my very good friend Dar, we decided, to be a little bit local. It wasn't a little bit. We lived for a week straight, I'd say. We lived in a small bamboo hut.
In the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere. With bugs. No electricity. No running water. Mosquitoes, snakes, spiders, you name it. All of it. And it was just the most surreal experience because it was one of those moments that I got to live like in present. I got to enjoy every little thing. I was like waking up to sunrises, going to sleep just after sunsets. There was not a care in the world because I didn't have an internet. I wasn't checking my phone every 10 minutes to see if somebody messaged me, if I have to reply, if my parents. So
you weren't listening to Project Dream Mastery podcast that wasn't existent yet?
Unfortunately not, which is a big bugger, But yeah, it was just living in that moment. So, at the end of the day, I think simplicity, it makes us to go back to the nature of being human. And I got to reconnect with nature. And yeah, living in that hut was just something wild,
Have you ever done that before?
No, never. Of course not. We live in the Western world, me and you. Okay. We live in nice houses. Well, relative nice houses, whatever you define as nice. We live in houses. We have hot showers whenever we want to have a hot shower. In Philippines, I've experienced that hot shower is something only a percentage of our population has. Running water is only something that a certain percentage, a small percentage of the world population has. It's wild. Like when I got back home after Philippines, the first thing I did was I went and have a hot shower. And I felt like I was a millionaire. I felt great. I was like, I have a hot shower. Those simple things that we take for granted every day are huge to some other people.
Patty, you bring up a great point there too, is it goes back to, again, I think one of the words we've identified is selfish. We live in a world where we are selfish. We like the things we have. I like having running water. I like having a dishwasher. I like all these things that some folks don't have, and actually a great deal of the world doesn't have. I mean, even when we were in Australia, they have dishwashers over there, but most homes don't have them. I mean, you have to be in a prestigious part of the community to kind of have them. I mean, it's just water costs. It's expensive over there. I mean, you're on a giant island. So going back to the word is being selfish, and you realize that being over there and experiencing that kind of stuff, that pivoting back to homework, you took that kind of leap. You invested in yourself to learn about the culture. You invest in yourself to become better, to progress your future, to live a life. I mean, yeah, it's traveling. You really wanted to do it, and that's what you want your experience was to be, and that's really amazing. But when it's all said and done, it really helped build you. It helped make you I would like to say, a better person. It helped you learn about the culture. It helped you. I mean, there's so many things you probably have takeaways. And you have so many things that you've grown from over these last few years just from your travels. I mean, you lived in China for a year. We'll get into that. It's a whole nother topic. But Patty lived in China for a year. He lived in Australia for 6 months. He traveled. He's been to, how many countries have you been to?
I can't remember. I wouldn't be able to, on top of my head, I'd say probably 25, 26, close to 30.
So you're not Lexi Limitless. You haven't done all 196 or so.
Not a chance now.
She is, you brought up something, then I don't want to get too far off the topic, but I think this actually will be relevant, is being unique and kind of, priorities. A lot of times on Instagram, and then Patty, you were bringing this up, a lot of times on Instagram, and even here on the show, we try to hide things. We aren't, but sometimes we try to hide things that we don't want everyone to know. We're trying to be transparent, but going back to the Instagram thing is, a lot of times on Instagram, you see the things people want you to see. You see all these famous people that have all these great lives and in these amazing yachts, and the families that are pitch perfect and all this good stuff. But in reality, they have problems too, and they're the first ones to admit it. And their Instagram might look pretty, and they have all these great lux on and all these filters on their photos, but that's part of the image. That's part of who you are. And Lexi Limitless, wants to travel and holds a record for one of the youngest folks to travel to every country.
The youngest person.
Yeah. Is it not every country, but every, I can't remember the exact term, what the word is, but sovereign nation, I believe is what it is. Every sovereign nation. 196, I believe, is what she did. I may be off on that. So, Lexi, I don't think you're listening to this, but if you are, great. It's really great. You're inspirational. But going back to that, is Patty was saying that she put up a post, and I saw it as well. It was about how she traveled all these countries, and she had all of these serious things happen to her. I mean, Bali belly, I had that. I know that sucks. I know that sucks. That is awful. That is horrific. Salmonella, all that stuff that comes along with it is just awful. And I wouldn't wish that upon the world, anyone. But she put up a post talking about how there's all these expectations that people have on us. And, they only want to see the good. They never want to see the bad. They never want you to let your guard down. Because when you let your guard down, people don't always like what they see. And I mean, Patty, I'm going to let you, I'm not going to let you, you can speak anytime you want, of course. But sorry, I'm trying to get that word out of, it's been engraved from other things. But going back to that is there is so many things in your life when you let your guard down, you don't know if people are going to like you. And part of the show is saying, hey, be yourself, be transparent, because when you are yourself and you let people see who you truly are, that one thing we talked about in the previous show is confidence, that all of a sudden skyrockets because you have nothing to prove to anyone. And even going back to homework, I mean, Patty traveling and seeing these countries and doing these things has allowed him to build who he is as a person and invest in himself. So, Patty, I want not to jump away from Lexi Limitless because I really want you to speak to that. What do you want to say to that? Because you had a really great point the other day, and I don't know if I encompass it all.
So Lexi Limitless puts a lot of posts up on her Instagram feed and stories from her travels and her experiences in all those beautiful places. But she made a very powerful point that kind of struck me. She showed on one of her stories that things are not always as beautiful as you think they are. It's great to travel and do all those things, but with it, you're taking certain risks. And sometimes, I'm just going to say it this way, shit goes down. She getting back to what you were saying, she put her guard down and shown herself in a very vulnerable state to all of us, with all different kinds of sicknesses in hospitals, with injuries, viruses, all that kind of stuff. And you don't get to see that every day. For example, open up your feed right now, look at the first picture you see, and I bet it's something filtered, beautiful, perfect, a perfection, right? But it's the ugly things are not shown, and a lot of the time the ugly things are the reality.
Patty, sorry, go ahead.
Just to finish this off, the ugly things are the reality a lot of the time, and it was just a very powerful story. It made me realize that you have to show people the real you, and like you were saying, some people might not like it, some people might find it disgusting, and they'll turn it off, they'll quit, they'll unfollow you, whatever it is. But it's that percentage of the people that stays, listens to what you have to say. And, everybody wants to send their message, which, in their opinion is important. It's that percentage of people that stays. They're the important people, they're your audience. And, I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
So, Patty, you were saying, going back, I have even now, I have a light, right? As you can see in this thing, I have a light above my camera because, we are also recording these podcasts. So feel free to check out our Project Dream Mastery YouTube page if you are listening to this right now and you are not on the YouTube video. So, if you are watching, you can actually see this photo. And if you aren't, we'll be quick. We'll jump right past this. But it's my Instagram. And it's basically the Instagram post that I put up whenever we went to the Game of Thrones Dark Hedges in Ireland when I came to visit you and your folks. That was... that photo, it came out very dark because we had a very gloomy day. And as you know, in Ireland, it's rainy most of the time. It was raining. Yeah, rainy summer. And I went and I added a little bit of filter because obviously I'm in Ireland. I want that to be a great photo. I want to be able to frame that. I don't want to, I want people to see how awesome and a great time I'm having. And, it's how many times you do that people start to see you as, I'm going to use the simple word, fake. That's what people say nowadays is, oh, wow, it's all fake. But to you, it could be real. You could have seen all those colors. You could have seen how beautiful it was. And if you're using it as your own personal, as for example, Patty's blog, he uses that as his record. My Instagram, I use that as my record. I use that as something that I can look back at in 20 years from now, hopefully, if Instagram's still alive. And I'll be able to look back and say, hey, this was a really great memory of mine. That's my way of my memories being logged. Now, I'm going to pivot us back from Lexi Limitless. Patty, you made a great point there. And I really am glad that even though it wasn't really, this show is completely unscripted. So if you're listening to this, we go into a lot of different things in one show, but they're all relating back to the central topic of it. So from that, you have learned that it's okay to be selfish. It's okay to have a routine. It's okay to prioritize yourself and prioritize your own expectations, prioritize your own future and your dreams. And, you don't always have to be pitch perfect. You can defy those expectations. You can. Those expectations that people have on you that you have to be perfect. No. So going back to homework. Pivoting way back to homework. You stop learning because no one is telling you that you have homework. From this so far, I've learned that if you just go out and you do something that you're really interested in, you're going to learn something. And that's just a simple ask that we have from you today. Go out and learn something new. So maybe it's something you're interested in. So if you really love Netflix and you really love that show, go ahead. Go binge that show because you might learn something. You might learn something about yourself watching that show. There's a bunch of things I've binged and I've just been like, wow, I could be better. Documentaries and stuff like that. There's really great content out there. So you do something today that's going to improve your future. It's pretty much that simple. Is you stop learning because no one is telling you that you have homework. Give yourself homework. Even if it's in something that you're not passionate about. Do you ever know when you might use that random fact? How many times have you been there? You're like, well, shit, I actually know that. Or, well, shit, I have some facts on that, some fun facts. And
such as us, Lucas, from our marine environment class where we learned how beaches in Australia were formed.
Well, the amount of classes we went to.
Yes.
Exactly. Again, that's not investing in yourself. That's investing in your memories. I'm sorry, University of New South Wales. We will do better. But, I really, there's a lot of things we could jump on to for this topic, but in the interest of time, I think Patty and I really have brought together all of our focuses on this topic. You got to prioritize what you really care about. That's one. You got to prioritize your own expectations. You got to create a routine if you think it's going to be needed to progress your future. You got to be selfish sometimes. You got to do things that are going to help you progress and help you become a better person, to help you follow your dreams. You have to do things that are truly going to benefit maybe yourself and your family. You can't always be in that position in your life where everything's about other people, because we live in a life, especially now with COVID-19 going on, and hopefully that this whole thing comes to an end very shortly. But we live in a time where we are in the best possible point in our future, in our time right now, for our future become better, because we have this time to promote our future, to promote our wellness, to promote our current circumstances, to promote our learning and all this stuff while we're home and we're stuck at home. Do things now to promote a better future. Patty, do you have anything else you want to add to this before we?
I'm just going to add that it's okay to not be perfect. So, people have certain expectations, but just like Lexi Limitless did, she has, millions of followers, right? Yeah. Millions of them. And they're following her because of her amazing content, all those beautiful pictures, all those beautiful stories. But she decides to show us the ugly as well. And it's important to be a little selfish sometimes. It's important to show the ugly side of yourself and, see what happens.
Yeah. And you said something earlier that, again, I put down on a piece, a little sticky note, because you said something that really spoke to me. And Patty and I have a way of bringing things up that you'll notice my voice will drop and I'll starting to think about things as we're having these topics. Cause most of the time it's just me spitting out words. Cause I'm like, I could add to that, but sometimes you really got to think, and sometimes it's important to think before you speak. And the one thing that Patty said was, things are not as beautiful as you always think. That hit home for me. How many times have you just kind of said there and thought life is great for that person? But, in reality, I'm going to use a story real quick. I had a really great friend, really, really great friend. When I was 13, 14 years old, and, his brother, took his own life. And, I wouldn't say a great friend. He was just someone that I lived by me. I've known. He's got the same last name. I mean, it was really, and it was hard. I was at church when I found out. And, that's one of the reasons why I started the Coachington movement. That was one of the reasons why that came to life is because sometimes you don't understand how precious things and how precious your life is until it's gone, or until someone takes it away or something crazy happens. And Patty, when you said things are not as beautiful as you always think, it made me think about that moment, because I always thought things were so good for him. I always thought things were so good for his brother. I mean, he was going to be a biochemical engineer. I don't even know what that is. He was doing things and going to make a ton of money in life. He was going to do crazy things. And to this day, that impact is still played on me. He wasn't someone that I was super close with. I mean, his brother and I grew up together. So it's really hard to say that we weren't close, but, that moment, like you said, Patty, things are not always as beautiful as you always think. So give that a whirl and think about that the next time you judge someone. Think about that the next time you go for your stroll in the mall and you see someone just shopping around and not buying anything or can't afford something. Think about that, because things are not always as beautiful as you may think they are. That's just I know that was really right, deep, yeah. But
that's a very deep thought.
That's what the show's about. It's about being real and transparent. Some things Patty, there's some things I don't want people to know and I don't want to talk about. But if I'm asked, I'm going to talk about my life, because I don't have anything to hide. I don't have anything to fear, because this show is about being honest and being open to people that might need it, and to the listeners. And Patty, I think what you said there was it was incredible, man. I got to say that. So anything else you want to add?
At the end of the day, this show is about inspiring and motivating. And I think we all need a little bit of push and a little bit of abstract thinking. Like you said, it's very important sometimes to sit back and think before you speak. So this show, or this podcast, I meant to say, gives the listeners as well as ourselves, because as we speak, we have all those different thoughts and we jot things down in our notepads, in our post notes, or whatever it may be, new ideas. And it gives us as well as our listeners the chance to think about things in a different way, with a different perspective they might not have seen before.
Exactly.
I'm just going to end it at that, because I think that's
a great way to end
the full stop.
That's a full stop. Take that exactly. So I'm just going to do a quick wrap. I think I did it already, but I'm just going to do a quick wrap. Think about yourself, identify with yourself, identify your own expectations. When you're thinking about your homework, you stop learning because no one is telling you that you have no homework, or that you have no homework. Again, going back, be selfish, set those routines, create those personal things in your life, those relationships that are going to help you grow. And if you're going to do one thing today, it's try to do something new. Try to do something that's going to promote your wellness, promote your growth, and promote your dream. So with that, I'm going to lead into our next episode and let you get a sneak peek at what we're going to be talking about.
Drum roll.
Drum roll, please. So in our next episode, we're going to be talking about half the battle is just showing up. And this is going to get very deep. So I want you all to understand that this episode may not always be these episodes, first off, may not be for everyone. But this next episode, I think, is probably for Patty and I is going to get deep, because we both have been there. We've had things in our life that haven't went perfect. We've had things that have just really went downhill. And we're going to explore those. We're going to explore different avenues in our life that we want to open up to you. So, and hopefully it helps you open up your life to others. So with that said, I hope that you go out and you subscribe so that you have instant access to our next podcast here in Project Dream Mastery. We're so excited to have you on the show. We're so excited for you to be listening, and we look forward to having you on the next show to come. Patty, you got anything else to say, buddy?
Nothing else to add. You just finish it perfectly, Lucas, as always.
And that's a wrap. All right. We'll see you on the next episode.